So it finally went down. After about 3 years of rumors, the Francisco Lindor trade is finally here, but did it deliver on the hype? People are saying the Cleveland unnamed baseball team got fleeced, but did they really? It sort of depends on your perspective, I guess, but if you aren't the type of fan that values financial flexibility, which frankly you shouldn't be, the Mets pretty clearly came out on top here, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the haul the Cleveland ambiguous baseball squadron got for Lindor and Carrasco, and whether there might be some other motives for trading them away. Lindor and Carrasco, for their part, are pretty much known quantities. In Lindor, you're getting a year of a great defensive shortstop that's a perennial MVP candidate at his best and still an all-star at his worst. He's projected for a 6-4 season next year, and he's only 27. Now, Lindor is owed a ton of money, and he is a free agent next year, so his trade value actually isn't insanely high as you think it might be. But I wouldn't rule out the Mets doing what the Dodgers did with Mookie Betts and re-signing him long-term. With Carlos Carrasco, the Mets get 2 years of a solid mid-rotation starter, fresh off a 2.9 ERA in 2020, and he won't light anybody up, but he strikes out enough people to be an effective starter behind DeGrom and Stroman in that rotation. I really like this add-on for the Mets, and this kind of topples the trade in their favor, since I think Cleveland's return would be pretty reasonable for just Lindor. But since this move pretty clearly cements Cleveland to be rebuilding, they didn't really have any leverage for keeping an older, sort of expensive mid-rotation starter, so they basically got no return for him. With the Mets no longer having a need for him, Amed Rosario went back to Cleveland in the trade, along with another shortstop in Andres Gimenez, who was solid for the Mets in a small sample size last season. Gimenez was likely to start the season at short in New York, mostly owing to his superior defense and top 100 prospect pedigree. Gimenez is a pretty high floor player. He plays very good defense, he doesn't strike out much, and he has decent play discipline. So while he's unlikely to be a star, he should be an average to above average major league contributor for the next couple seasons. Rosario was also a hyped prospect, probably even more hyped than Gimenez, but he hasn't had sufficient growth into the franchise shortstop he was hoped to be. He still has the tools to be great. His range and arm at short are good, but he's been pretty error-prone pretty much his entire career. He's also flashed signs of a contact bat that could hit 300 over a full season, but has been held back by an inability to lay off outside breaking balls or take any walks. Rosario could be moved from short to second or the outfield in Cleveland, so this combination of a high floor, low risk, and a potential high upside addition that have team control and can contribute right now are pretty solid for the team that shall not be named. Cleveland also scored some prospects in the trade that are pretty far from the majors, pitcher Josh Wolf and center fielder Isaiah Green, Cleveland's second-round picks from 2019 and 2020. They were both high school picks, so it's kind of hard to project what they might be since they're both young and haven't played above rookie ball, but both project to eventually make the majors in some capacity. Josh Wolf is a lanky righty with a solid fastball that sits mid-90s and can touch 97. He throws a slider, curve, and changeup, with the curve being his standout breaking ball. He was the Indians' 25th ranked prospect last year, and if the Mets do a good job developing him, he could be a back-end or spot starter or a mid to high-leverage reliever at his peak. Isaiah Green, on the other hand, is a little higher variance, but potentially has higher upside. While originally he drew attention for being a skilled contact bat with an advanced approach, his body type projects to grow into more of a power bat when he fills out. He can run well and might stick at center field, but once he fills out, he may lose some speed and be moved to a corner outfield spot. He's a toolsy player that, with some polish and frame growth, could be an everyday player on a major league team. So overall, how is the return? Honestly, from the outside looking in, it looks pretty bad for Cleveland, but it's pretty hard to not trust their front office. They're working on a shoestring budget from a shit owner. They've remained competitive over the last few years despite that, though. This is a team that 2 years ago probably had the best rotation in baseball, has now traded away basically the entire best rotation in baseball, but somehow probably still won most of those trades. Just like the Rays front office, I think they have some of the best minds in scouting, player development, and analytics, making the best of a bad situation. So for Cleveland fans, this obviously sucks, but I wouldn't count on Cleveland rebuilding for too long, and there's some more silver lining for them. I think this move is probably a sign the Dolans are going to start selling the team soon. By liquidating all their valuable assets, which Lindor and Carrasco were their two players owed the most next season, Cleveland only owe $44 million in payroll next year, which is one of the lowest in the league. By cleaning out every expensive player, the Dolans could be making their team more attractive to potential buyers. At least I can only hope so for the sake of Cleveland sports fans, since they honestly deserve better, and guys like Jose Ramirez and Shane Bieber deserve better too. But that's just my take on the whole trade, and honestly, with this move, the Mets look crazy good next season, but that doesn't factor in the fact that they are the Mets, so I'm curious to see how they'll do. As always, thanks for watching, sub to the channel if you like the content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.